it recording?
Okay, yeah, you're good.
Okay. Istungo and Jokayadega. Istungo and Jokayadega. For that's one person. And guys, I've been gone. After I got through teaching Tuesday, I got sick. And then my cousin was on hospice and she passed. And then Thursday we were closed down. Friday we were closed down. They had shut the program down. We had to do some deep cleaning in our office. So we was home. We were at home. And then my cousin passed away Monday and Tuesday. We had funeral, wake service Monday. And then Tuesday we had the funeral and I was helping cook. And you know, as Mvskoke people, if somebody calls on you, we're there. You know, my cousin and called me and she said, Becky, she said, there's only one person cooking. And this was 5 o'clock in the morning. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. She goes, she's the only one cooking. And I said, let me call in and I'll go help her, you know. And it turned into a job. So, but, you know, that's how we are. We help each other. And anybody, if, you know, when my mother passed away, you know, there was plenty of people that helped us and I give back, you know, so, and this person that passed, I remember when, and you know, of course there were cousins on my mom's side. So when she passed, she was the first one I called. And I told her, I said, my mom passed and she said, oh no, you know, she was, and what she did was she went while we were in Tulsa. She went to my house and made dinner for us. And we had dinner when we got home. And this was a woman that passed. So, you know, and you know, that was like, I remember what she done for my family. So we gave back to the family, my husband and I and my kids, we went and helped. And I helped cook, I helped them cook. We cooked for 2 days. And, you know, of course, as Mvskoke people, we always feed people. And we, you know, we're always there and we had a lot of people step up, you know. So it was you know, as Mvskoke people, my mom used to say, even if it's just a loaf of bread, you take something to the service to help people. And so I always did that. And, you know, when my mother died, I mean, they came in and helped us with food, you know, and everything like that. And that's just how I was raised, always to help people, care for people. So, and of course they were raised the same way. So when my mother died and I called her, I was still in Tulsa. She was the first one. And I said, my mother just passed. And she said, oh no. And, you know, she got in a car, went to my house, made herself at home, you know, and she'd been to my house several times. She went in the house, cooked supper for us. And when we got home, there was dinner on the table. And she said, I went ahead and cooked for y'all so y'all wouldn't have to cook. You know, and then here she passes. So I had to give back. And I seen her Tuesday, and that Thursday she passed. So, and they had her funeral Monday and Tuesday. Monday was wake, Tuesday was service. So I stayed there and helped them. We cooked and we fed people and we cleaned up, did everything. And you know, it's tiring work, but yet, you know, there's a satisfaction that you did help those people. Okay, so it's still going Jokayadega. That's one person. Did you make it through the night? Because we don't have good morning. And this is more than one person. It's still going Jokayadega. You know, I heard this a lot this past weekend right here. That morning we was all in the kitchen and cooking, and of course the grave diggers came in, and they came in about 5 after they got through digging the grave and feeding them and everything, and probably about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock stuff. Some of the people started showing up, and one person, 2 or 3 people come up in different intervals and said, "It's don't go Jokayadega. Did y'all make it through the night okay?" You know, that's what they asked us. It's don't go Jokayadega. And I said, yeah, don't go Jokayadega. And they asked if we slept. No, just doors. Did y'all sleep at least a little bit? And you know, and of course we spent the night, you know, It was one of those, this is where I was saying, like wake service, grounds, even in the family, they'll say, so I heard this a lot. Okay, now we're studying vocabulary. And if this, if y'all think this is not helping, let me know. But I haven't had a chance to make more sentences with this, but I am. There's going to be sentences, but I just haven't. I'm still working on this, putting more on there, more explanations. But once I get done with more explanations, we're going to go back to this and use these in phrases. That's my goal, is to use these, every one of these words that we went through. We're going to go back through. I'm going to make different phrases with them. And as y'all remember, I'm going to touch up on this a little bit because this is kind of in depth. But in the previous classes, that's what we was leading up to, was this. The word hiya, ya, and ma means this and that. Yeah. So if I say ya choga, this is this paper. But if I say ma choga, that's that paper. Okay. This and that in B sentences, B, M, is, and R. The word meaning B comes at the end. And remember now, I speak different than what they speak here, what we got here. But this is the way some people does speak. It says can appear, the word meaning B comes at the end. D can appear on both noun phrases, but the first is often dropped. So noun phrase, jogat os. But I speak like this, jogados. I separate that. I separate this and just say jogados. Okay, this is saying hiyat. This, okay, is a book. This is a book. Hiyat. You're saying this is hiyat jogados. Okay, or you can say hiyat jogatos. Okay, this means this is a book. Okay, mut, that. Ishotechkatos. Ishotechkados. This is how I speak right here, the second part. Ishotechkados. I put this separate, and that's just how I'm used to speaking. That at the D means that is a pen. Mut ishotechkados or mut ishotechkatos. Either way you speak. I speak with dos separated. So, and that's just how I learned how to speak. When you use D and say hiyat jogatos or hiya jogados, it means this is a book. Okay, this is where y'all need to really come in. There's one. This is a book. See right here, when you use D and say hiyat jogados or hiyat jogatos, it means this is a book as opposed to everything else. Question ending B. Hiyat jogados, hiyat jogados. This is a book. This is not supposed to be something different. So here we go. Hiyat jogadoa. Okay, this is a question. When you use doa, that means, okay, now get this now. Dos is something. Doa, is it something? Okay, is there any questions on this? Dos is. Doa is a question, is it? So here joga oa or here joga doa is saying, is this a book? Remember, doa is saying, is it? But remember now, dos means is. Okay, this is a book. Here joga os or here joga dos is a book. Okay, but this and doa is saying, is it? Okay, is this a book? Does that make sense? Any questions so far on this? So I can say, if a doa, uhoshi doa, is it a dog or is it a cat? And I can answer, if a dos. It is a dog. It's a dog. It is a dog. Or I can say, boshi dos. It is a cat. See, this one is the question. Okay, right here says here chogaroa. Is that a book? But then you can say that is a pen. Ma ishochechka dos. Ma ishochechka dos. It is a pen. Any questions so far? Because this is where you're going to be able to ask a question. What is that? And it is. Okay. What is that? And what is? Okay. Look here. Is that a pen? Any questions so far? Because I don't want to lose you here. This is where you're going to learn. Like you say, Oshkiroa. You can look at, somebody can ask you, is it raining? Oshkiroa. Here. Is it raining? Oshkiros. It is raining. We had some of these sentences earlier in the lesson. So this is where I'm going to start doing sentences and phrases. We're going to go back over this using every one of this. Every one of these that we go over. So you may think, okay, we're getting redundant, but this is going to help you on different, not just using a pen. Remember, I just used ifa. Ifa doa. Monks means no. Dos. Hear that? Say, is it a dog? Is that a dog? No, it is a cat. Any questions so far, guys? I don't want to lose you in here now. Remember, doa is a question. Dos is. So this is what it's trying to say. This is doa is like, is it? And you can add ma. Adami jadi doa. Is that car red? Mox or latidos? No, it's blue. And by the way, I've asked a lot of this because I'm colorblind. I don't tell people that. I'm gonna let you know I'm colorblind. I have a hard time, and so I'll have to ask my husband when I'm buying clothes, is that blue? Is that black? And he'll say, and he, I can't, it's hard for me to see different colors. So one day, my daughter was getting married and she said, okay, I want my dad to wear fuchsia. And I said, what is fuchsia? And she said, kind of a pink. Well, I thought I got my husband a pink shirt, but when we got there, it was actually kind of a purple looking. And my daughters go, Mom, you got him a purple shirt. And I say, well, I'm colorblind, it looked pink to me. So I'm colorblind. So this right here, I ask a lot of that. Jadi dua, is it red? Mox, jadosi dos. It's a little bit red. Jadosi long time ago meant pink. Okay, jadosi. So y'all guys, all right, here we go. Oh, I know y'all have. I missed y'all too. It's also my native family tree. Totally get it. Oh God, it's bad to be colorblind. I didn't know. Colorblind can be like this, but it is. It is. It's. You can. So I ask a lot of questions. And so like blue, black, purple, red. And my eye doctor told me, he said, if somebody says the light is red, don't argue with them. So I don't. Okay. So look here. Here jokat oa. Is hojetskat os. Okay, right here is saying, is this a book? They're saying, Mox, is hojetskat os. It is a pen. That's a pencil or a pen. Ispotjetska can mean a pencil, pen, anything that you can write with, okay? Anything you can write with can be considered ispotjetska, okay? Anything you can write with can be, it's called a pen, pencil, a permanent pen, because it writes, okay? It can be called ispotjetska. So if you got a pencil or pen, remember it's anything that can write is ispotjetska, okay? Ma ispotjetska door, is that a pen? Do I mean is that? Okay, now I don't want to lose you. So if you got questions, guys, y'all let me know, because this is, we're going back over this. And I'm trying to explain, okay, like door and dos. Dos is, door is it? Okay, is it? My door. Okay. Pronoun it, he can be left out in Mvskoke. The following are complete sentences. It is a book. Is it a book? Jogador. See, that's complete sentence. I can walk up to Amy and say, Jogador. She can say, Jogados. Yes, it is a book. Yes, it is a book. You know, or I'll say, Boshidor. Chufidor. You say, Boshidos. Chufidos. And I say, is that a cat? Boshidor. You can say, monks. It's a rabbit. Chufidos. Or monks. Ithodos is a squirrel. Write that down. Itho is a squirrel. Itho. Rabbit is chufi. And see, all this, you know, okay, can you tell where I'm getting you? You're going to be able to ask questions and answer it in just simple phrases. Okay? In just simple phrases. But it's going to get you to know what door is and dos is. And this is going to be slow going, guys, but this is, and we use a lot of this right here. This is what everyday thing is. We speak, you know, like this, and I may not realize it, but you know, I use this phrase a lot because I work in this right here. I work in the office. So that's just the way, you know, it's a regular everyday thing. Okay, Ohonaga, reading. This is a clock. So you say here, hasiskifka os, or like the way I speak, here, hasiskifka dos. This is a clock. Is this a ball? Now listen. Bokodoa or bokot oa. Bokot oa or bokodoa. Is it a ball? Is this a ball? See, guys, this is where you're gonna learn to differentiate, okay? And you use it, how many times do you ask a question in English? Think about it. You can use this in just using Mvskoke. Okay? And you're saying, no, it is a clock. Monks hasiskifka os. Monks hasiskifka dos. Either way. Because they're asking, Bokodoa, is this a ball? You say monks hasiskifka dos. Hasiskifka dos. No, it's a clock. Any questions so far? And is this gonna, okay, let me ask you this. Is this gonna help you? Is this gonna be the one you think is gonna help you? Because it's gonna get further and further in, guys. I got about 10, 15 more pages to go that explain stuff like this. If this is not gonna help you, we're gonna go. But remember, I'm gonna add more sentences to this after all this is done. We're gonna be using this, guys. I will be using this. And I'll have to go all the way back and do this. And that's good. Because you'll learn different, using different. You can use a book, cat, animals, cars, town. You can use anything with this. Okay.
Mvhayv.
Think so?
Yes, ma'am. When you, before, at the beginning, when I first joined y'all about a year ago, you said, I guarantee you will learn something in my class.
Yep.
And, I understood what you were just saying just now. And I got so excited in my heart. I'm like, I know what she just said. I understood it. So yes, it's working.
All right, this is working. Okay, anybody else? Because you know what? This is what we was getting to. And I'm not just going to use these, I'm going to add more to this. I'm going to add more phrases to this using this right here. Okay. So, this is something that this is where you start going. Okay. This is where, okay, look here. Here anhissit oss. Huktidos or huktidos. This is my friend. It is a girl. So you say here anhissidos, huktidos. This is my friend. It's a girl. See? Okay. So, we say that. We go somewhere, we just introduce her. This is my friend. You say that in English. Use Creek. Use Mvskoke. Okay. And you say, here has a skifkat. Here has a skifkados. This is a clock. But look here. They're here, is it a ball? Monks? No. Has a skifkados. Has a skifkados. No, it's a clock. See, you got a little bit of argument there. Introduce yourself and someone else along the following lines. Okay, look, this is square. Mary, okay, I'm going to read the whole thing just like I'm speaking to somebody. And then we'll go back over it and break it down. Mary Jahodif Kados or Mili Jahodif Kados, yet Anhisidor. Joga Hita Dos. He is a man. See? But you can, and this is where I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to make phrases here. I can say, Yahunanwa anhisidos. Joga hijidos. And here I said, this man is my friend, and he is a school student. I will rewrite this, but using this same thing and make it in different ways where you can do it. But this is just like breaking it down and so this is what you're going to learn as we go along. But there's a lot more rules to this, and it's going to get, it's like takes a lot of self-study. Okay, look here. Answer with ihi. Ihi means yes. Okay. Ihi. Okay, the example. Jogaroa or jogat or ihi jogados. You're saying here, is it paper? Joga is paper. It's asking, is this paper? Is that paper? You say, yes, it is paper. Okay. You're just answering it. Okay. Mahukti ua or mahukti ua. Is that a girl? Ihi hukti dos. It is. Okay, this is where you're losing. You're using doa and dos again. Is it? And it is. Okay. But anhisidoa. Saying, is this my friend? Anhisi means friend. Okay. My friend. Anhisi means my friend. And he's saying, is that my friend? Manhisidoa. And you can say in here. And he's okay. This is what we're going to study more on. We're going to get to that. When you're talking about a third person, remember when we was talking about pronouns, third person was chi. Jinhisidos. Yes, it is your friend. This is where that cha, chi, remember that cha, chi. Going back to pronouns. And we're going to study pronouns on here, but you got to say, chin, hisi, dos. Mahonanwa oa or mahonanwa doa. Is it a male? Honanwa dos. You're just using doa and dos right now. Okay. Anhisi boki chat oa. Anhisi boki chadoa. Is my friend a ball player? Boki chados. Any questions so far? Because I don't want to lose you, but you're just learning dos and doa. Dos is doa, is it? But when you add ma, you're saying is that, and that is, okay. This is where all this goes together. Okay. Right here. And it's going to take a little bit of studying. It's going to take a little bit of studying. And this is where you're going to begin. Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Because I'm going to put different sentences on here. I got to go back and make all those. And you know, I don't use, I create my own things. Everything that you see on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, especially YouTube, I create my own stuff. I create my own things, and I will create things right here. And I may just change Mary to Amy. I may change Mary to Carol. I may change Mary to Pamela. I may change it to you. I may use y'all so y'all can start doing this, okay? And we may leave out, this is my friend. And we may leave out, instead of saying he is a man, we can say this is my husband. See? Or this is my sister. We can do this any way we want to. But you're going to learn. Any questions so far? And this right here, we may change this. Is this your husband? Is this your husband? You say, Chahidos. This is where you're gonna, and you know, we're going to take our time, guys. Mary hokti oa, or remember, Mary in Mvskoke is Mili. Mili hokti oa. She a girl. Is Mary a girl? Any questions? Okay, look here. This is the exercise. Give the questions corresponding to the answer. This says, this gives the answer, but don't give this question. It says, so how would you say that? Would you say, all you have to say is that paper, and you say, it is. Right here, Mvhayv dos. So you would say, Mvhayv doa. Mvhayv doa, Mvhayv dos. Because all you're doing here is saying, you're saying, yes, this is paper. But the answer right here would be, is this paper? You can say, yajoga doa. Remember, doa is a question. Is this paper? Yajoga doa. Is this a teacher? Mvhayv's teacher says yes. This is a teacher. So you would ask Mvhayv doa. Mvhayv doa, is she a teacher? It don't have to be she, it can be he or she. But a teacher is in general he, she, you know, it's teacher. You can say Mvhayv doa. Is it a teacher? Mvhayv dos. Bokoroa. See, that's a complete sentence. You just ask, is it a ball? Because doa is it? Bokoroa. Bokados. Any questions? Are you getting this? Okay, you got the answer right here. All you have to put is dua in front of this right here. Joga is paper. Mvhayv is teacher. Mvskoke is a ball. Mvhayv is a girl. Okay. And this goes up to your vocabulary. Mvhayv means female. You can always go back to this and see what that is, okay? So this right here, I'm gonna do different sentences and do different things with this, you know. So just hang on and we're gonna get to it, okay? Say Mvhayv, is that a girl? Mvhayv. See how this is going down? This is where we need to slow down. And we will, and we're, you know, when y'all think y'all are ready to move on, y'all tell me. I'm tired, I know them, just move on. But I'm gonna go back to these phrases now. Don't remember, I'm gonna go back to these phrases. I'm gonna make different phrases because those are the only way that this can be used. We're gonna go back to phrases. I'm gonna make different phrases with these. And that will be my own creation. Okay, look here. Here nagitoa or here nagidoa. What's this? Here's your vocabulary words. Ifa, Osi, Fojo, Thako, Waga, Chowada, Binwa, Sokha, Dolosi, Sasakwa, Yabithega, Abiga, tame animals. Remember, tame animals is abiga. But wild animals, remember, I think I went over that, is Barnett. Barnett. Abiga is tame, Barnett is wild. Okay. So here we go. What in Mvskoke is Nagi? And what question? Another question required a long answer. The sentence ends in an ah. Nagi. Okay. This is a pen. He is here. Remember, when you say here, this is a pen. Here means this is. What is this? Here nugget. Or here nugget or. Okay, now look here. That's supposed to be a V. Ishotechka dos. Ishotechka os or Ishotechka dos, the way it's saying it's a P. Any questions so far? Because this is slow going, guys, and it's like I said, there's like 15 more pages of rules. And I figured rules, learning it this way may be better than just phrases. But I am going to add phrases to this. Mvhskoke dos. This is a book. That is a book. Nagidoa. What is that? Okay, now listen to my Mvskoke. Nagidoa. Here. Nagidoa. See the difference? Or you can say Nagidoa. You gotta have that here. This is saying, what is that? Managidoa. And you know, we heard a lot of when we was growing up. You know, we'd be and back when I was growing up, there was strange things going on in our little Mvskoke world. You know, one night I was in the living room with my oldest little girl. And she had a Christmas play coming up. She was like first grade, kindergarten. And we were she was going to be a Christmas tree. So we was drawing a Christmas tree out of a poster board that she was going to hang on her neck. And we were laying down there coloring it with permanent pens and stuff, colored pens. And I looked at our picture window, and this was at my mother's house. And she lived in the boonies way out in the country. And there was a field in front of the house that was, it was acres and acres of land. And there was a hill, we don't have no mountains, but we call it a mountain. And you could see it from our window. So I looked out there and there was 3 big old lights on that mountain. So, and it was just me and my little baby. So I went and told my mother and I said, I told her, come here, up this. And of course we all spoke Creek. And I said, Managidua. Managidua. And she said, Kisa. And then my husband was working. And then my uncle was there. And she said, oh, when they did this, go wake him up. So I went and got my uncle and I said, Yanagidua. And it just sat there. 3 big lights. And we sat there and first thing he said was UFO. Istilano Jogi. Little green men. And I said, I was like, I don't think so, because, that seemed far-fetched to me. And he said, and then later on, we sat there watching it. One went this way in the air. One went in the opposite direction. And one went straight ahead and they went up into the air and left. And he said, you just saw a UFO. And I was like, eee. That's the first experience I ever had. Okay. Now we're gonna get back to this here. I just told you all that little story. Keep it from getting bored. Okay, what in Mvskoke is Nagi? Okay, look here. Here is Hojetskados. This is a pen. Here Nagidoa. Here Nagidoa. What is this? It's Hojetska. It's Hojetskados. It's a pen. Yeah, I mean, I was young and my little girl was probably in kindergarten or preschool and we was drawing and we saw that. And so I asked him, Nagidoa. Hear it? Nagidoa. See, this was used a lot. Nagidoa. So I asked my mom, I had to get her out of bed and I asked her, I said, Nagidoa. And me and my little girl stayed with my mom and my uncle and my husband went to work at night. So I was saying, Nagadua, and this is what I use right here. Nagadua. What is that?
Mvhayv,
Uh-huh.
you talked about UFOs and then all of a sudden my computer goes off.
Oh no!
Strange things happening.
That day they were going to have the funeral. Me and the cook, the other cook, we would step outside and we just seen this eagle flying around. I said, it's gonna be a good day. So things, we're told things, Okay. Oh, can you get it on?
I did.
Okay.
Now when you were starting to tell that story and you went to your mom and she used that word kithlots, and just using it in that immediate way, was she saying, I don't know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
See, you're known because you knew the question. Nagidoa, what is that? And she said, kithlots. You said, she said, I don't know. There you go. You're starting to get that. You see what I'm saying? Kithlots. She didn't know. She didn't know what it was. And so she told me to go wake up my uncle if I wanted to do this. So I went up there and he said, as soon as he saw it, he said, UFO. He said, Istilano Jug. Isti is per people or person. Lanojug means little green people, and that's what they call like outer space people. And she said at one time they were going to help us, my grandmother. She said, she said, one day those little people are going to help. The Indian people, the native people, is what she used to tell us. I don't never, and you know, when I was young, so I was like, I just took what she said. At this age now, I would have drilled her. What do you mean? You know, how is this going to happen? What do you think? Why do you think that? Where did you hear it? But you know, when I was a young girl, you know, I didn't think about it. I just took it as, you know, and she said, they're going to help the Indian people. That's what she used to say. I don't know what she meant. Okay, so says Machogadoa. Nagadoa. See, look here. Machogadosh. This is a book. But right here says, what is that? Managadoa. Managadoa. It's a book. Dogadosh. Now remember, that one ended in V. What is it? But listen, you gotta put the tone. Because you're asking a question. Nagidoa. Ooh, somebody said, I see those 3 lights over the desert a lot. You know, I've heard that. You know, I've heard that, but that's the first and the last time I ever heard that. Oh, I got another story for you to break the monotony. Saturday, my little girl had a tournament, and they entered the Shriners tournament to help the, you know, Shriners, and she was in a championship. So after the championship, she won it. They won. Her little team won. They won trophies and medals. And I said, let's go to Walmart. And I said, today I'm not going to cook. We're going to eat sandwiches. I said, let's go to Walmart, get some sandwich stuff, and come back. We went, okay, we were sitting around with them because my daughter went to go play in the All Indian Nationals tournament in Norman basketball. So she left the kids with us, and she went on this 3-day, I call it a hiatus. Calm down. But anyway, we went to Walmart, we got back, and we was just snacking. And I said, y'all just snack around. When you get hungry, you eat. And so me and my husband sat there and we ate with them, and then off and on. Well, later that evening, about 4, he said, you know what? He was trying to get a inner tube for one of their bikes, and he said they didn't have it in that Walmart. Let's go look in another Walmart. Well, we was gonna go in a different direction, which is probably 15-20 minutes away from us too, and so maybe 30 minutes. And I said, we're gonna go to Walmart. Y'all put your shoes on. Well, the oldest one said, you know what? I don't want to go. They don't like to go anywhere. They want to go. They like to stay home. And she said, I'll keep the 2 little ones. And I said, you're not to touch fire. You're not to climb anything. You're not to do this. You're not to do that. If you want to eat, there's sandwich meat in there, and we're going to be back as soon as we can. They said, okay. And, you know, like just down the road, they would stay and we'd go and come back. Well, anyway, we left. As soon as we got into Walmart, we hadn't been in there 5 minutes. She said she was crying when she called me. She said, Grandma, we hear something screaming out there. And I said, what do you mean? She said, we hear something screaming. We locked the door. We're in the bathroom. Boy, we left everything the way it was getting in a car. Head back, and my daughter, my oldest daughter, she lives just 500, maybe quarter of a mile, not even that, down the road in town. And she said, Mom, I got them. She said, they called me, and she said, me and my husband went, you know, her and her husband went and got the 3 kids. And I said, okay, you got them. And she said, go ahead and finish your shopping. So I talked to my granddaughter. I said, are you okay? She said, yeah, I'm with Auntie. And she said, we're okay. And she said, we'll be here when you get back. Go ahead and finish. So we started. And this all happened, it seemed like in a 15-minute interval, we was calling each other. And she said, I got them. I've already went and got them. They're with me. Do you know now Now, okay, during the wake service, during my cousin's wake service, we live from my house to there, maybe 2 miles. And I said, are y'all gonna stay or go to the wake service? They won't stay home anymore. They will not sit at home anymore. They will not get out of the car unless one of us gets out of the car. Now, so they actually heard it, because at first I thought they might be fibbing. Kind of exaggerating. I don't think they are. I think they really heard a scream. And they said, I said, what was it? What did it sound like? I was asking them when I got home, what did it sound like? What did it sound like? And they said, like a woman screaming. But it was right here, right by our house. And I said, and what did y'all do? She said, well, the middle one, she heard it before they did, I guess, because she said, all I saw was she jumped off the trampoline and ran in the house. And the other two just sat there. Well, when they heard it, they were right behind her, I guess. She said she was the first one in the house. So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what they heard. Okay. Let's get back to this. That's a good story. This is a book. It's supposed to be Yah. Yajugados. This is Yah right here. Yeah. What is that? Okay, here we go. That. Nagidoa. It's a book. Chugados. Right? Chugados. I hope it was one of those, but boy, they're scared now.
Mvhayv, one of my grandsons, he's a soccer player, and he's very good. I'm prejudiced. He's very good.
That's okay.
He was playing, and his mom took a picture, and took a picture of him playing, and he was just getting ready to kick the ball, and I mean, somebody had kicked it to him, and just as he was getting ready to kick it, my daughter got this picture. That picture came back, and it looked like he was in a spotlight. This is outside, broad daylight, everything. But that picture came back with it looking like there was a spotlight on him. And she said, Mom, what does that mean? I said, I don't know. But anyway, but we just sat there, we just looked at it for the longest time. And so she went back and she had them make it bigger. She enlarged it. And it still came back out like that. It does. You can't see it in the what you call it, when you look at it on the on those machines. That you can look at the pictures and you see them. But when it came out, it had that spotlight on him, and we don't know why or how or anything like that. And then she went back and she looked at it again, and there was no spotlight. But when she had it developed, there was a spotlight. Now it's that she says, Mom, she said, does that mean that something bad's going to happen to him? I said, I don't know. I said, it just happened, okay? But anyway, that's my story.
Well, that's good. Well, that, and we named panthers, we named wildcats, we named it all. We named every one of these things. But now I know for sure. I think wildcat, it could have been. It does. We heard those these. It could be a panther, or I thought it could be a fox too, because I've heard of fox before. It could have been any one of those. But boy, there now. Okay, now look here. Notice the question word doesn't move in Mvskoke. There's a short way to owa and owa. Just use D, or D, long E, respectively. Is this a Pian? Long way. Here is Hojechkadoa. Is Hojechkadoa. Or short way, Pia Ishwachitska D. See, you can use D in place of dua. Okay, remember that. You can use D. Dua. Remember, I said in the previous lessons, I said D is most of the time question. I'm gonna say all the time question. Look here though. Remember, we was using oa and oa. Just use D, D, and D long E. Here is Wujecka doa. Long way. Or you can say, here is Wujecka D. Is Wujecka D. See? Okay, any questions on that? Because this is gonna be, this is how we speak, guys. This is how we speak. Okay, look here. Here nagit owa. Here nagit owa. What is this? Long way. But look here. Here nagiti. Long, that's where that long, because here you got long, and this is short and blunt. But here you got nagiti. Here is Wujecka D. Here is Wujecka D. But right here it's got dua. So you say here nagiti. See? Hear the tone too, guys. Okay. It says, I remember, this is somebody says, I remember hearing the elders talk about things. I wish I would have thought about asking questions. They knew things. Now I wish I knew how they knew. I wonder that too. And we're jumping around here, but that's okay. That's okay. We're gonna address, because I don't like to not address things. I'm a talker. So a lot of times, like if I ask my mom a question, she'd say, so because it was said, Maho Gidi Luis by the elders. She'd say because it was said. She didn't really explain anything a lot of times. And now I still have so many questions. She's not here because I always called her my walking history book and my person that I went to. And she's been gone, about 11 years now. And if nothing else, I have so many more questions I can ask. In fact, I was going to ask Ella a question here. And I can't remember what the question was now. I was going to ask somebody something, and I can't remember what it was. But Ella, just kind of keep that on your mind. She thinks that, hey, that might be something. I've never watched that, but I'm going to watch that. She sings to the stars. Okay.
Mvhayv.
Yeah.
There's a place called Blood Mountain in Georgia that was my people and your people, I guess, fought over it in time.
Yeah.
That's a holy mountain there that has a reputation for Bigfoot. And we decided to hike that mountain. And my sons, it only got to a part where there were big rocks and I couldn't climb over those at this point. And my sons decided to climb up that. And it was the first time they had been on a mountain because they lived in Florida. And when they were hiking back, they heard some kind of a screeching sound, screaming sound, like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I don't know, to this day, they were grown men, so they weren't necessarily susceptible to, like children are. And I went over the sounds like, bobcat and all this. And so I don't know. I can't say, but I personally think there's more to heaven and earth than we know, the quote, but for sure. But that, it did have a reputation for that, in that it was a holy mountain. So who knows, but maybe the elders knew because they experienced things.
Yeah. Well, just like my mom said, it's been said, and she used to tell me this, something happened that they advised against it. And so she said, maybe they went through this and say not to do this. You know what I'm saying? Not to do this or not to do that. She used to say it happened or it's been said. And see, that's what I said too. We got some cats out there. They love animals. We got dog cats. They have more if we let them, but I ain't about to let them have any more. But anyway, I even say the cat. No, it wasn't. And they got names for them. It wasn't pretty girl. I don't even know which one's pretty girl, but we got a lot of cats. So, I don't know. Yeah, because it was said, sounds like because I said so. Yeah. And, we still don't, I'm still trying to figure this out, what it was, still trying to make sense of it. Trying to see what it was, but apparently I'm never gonna find out, because they can't really explain it to me, but whatever, But now I know they won't stay there, but boy, they're in the car before I am. I say, I'm going to town, well, they're in there, Okay. Let's get back to this. What's this? Here, nagidi. Look how you can shorten this. Dua, dua, di. So any way you use this, it's going to be correct, guys. Okay. Another small word that we use is da. Here, da. What about this? Mada. What about that? Here, da. Nagidoa. Here, da. Nagidi. Hear that? Yeah, that's true. She says in the short way is maybe more casual and Doa would be more formal. Yeah. And we've and I say we chopped up the language, but we've shortened a lot of our words, and I say we chopped it up ourselves. But and just like I chopped up softy, and my mother, she corrected me all the time. It ain't softy, it's all softy. See, she got on to me for saying softy. She'd say Oshofki. So, we chopped it up ourselves, to a point, but it's understood. So, and I don't know if that's good or bad. Okay, da is another small word that is very useful. What about this? Hiada. Mada. Means what about? Hiada. Mada. Mada nagdua. What about that? What is it? Mada poshidua. What about that? Is it a cat? See how we're doing this, guys? See how these can be used? Okay, we got Hasiski Koji. Duchina ahoskidos. There is 3 minutes left. Any questions? And let me know. Is this, now I know this is helping Amy. Is this going to help you? Is this? That's right. You can't find these in the dictionary. In fact, some of the like this stuff, it tells you right here, it's what about? What about? It's what this means, stuff. Okay. So this is kind of, and there's a lot of words that we talk, the way we speak is not even in a dictionary. We've checked it. Like Gonologi. Gonologi is loot. And like different things, that's not in there. And we use them. And that dictionary, I still use it, mine's all wore out. I mean, I've got, and when I was in school, I used it a lot. So it's got Kool-Aid, coffee, no telling what else is on there. It's got been spilled on there, wiped off. Okay. Now look here. Hiyanagidua. Hiyanagidua. Okay, this right here should be wagados or wagados. Wagados. In here, Wagado, this shouldn't have a question mark right there. Okay. Abigat oa. Abigadoa. Abigados. Abigados. It's saying, is this pain? It is. See? So, yes, it can. And we've been through some changes. She said, living language, it changes subtly all the time. And it does, like the numbers. The first one was, Jagala walking, Joey in the state. I hope for denial. That was the OA. And then it went to Hunga, Kokola, Duchina, Osta. And now we say Humgin, Kokolin, Duchina. It evolves. Language evolves. You know, it evolves. So, you know, that first one was like it just Baton is the old language. That was the first one. But you know, I don't know if it goes more than 10. That Jagalawakin, Jui, Nesti, Hamama, Ogogo, Foroji, Nayo. I don't know if it goes more than 10. But now, Hamga, Okola, Lucina, Osta, Chakiba. Hear it? Chakiba, Osta. It all ends with up. But then now we got Humgin, Okola, Lucina, Osten. See, the Indian is different and it's evolved to that. Okay. So that's how we, you know, it has evolved to a point.
Mvhayv, do you have a copy of the old way to say the numbers?
And I will put it on here.
Thank you, Bill. Because I remember the numbers that my grandma would tell me, you know, when I was like 3 or 4. And they sound a little bit different than what these are. So I'd like to see a copy of that because that's how she used to count to me, you know.
And you know, it's kind of like a lullaby too. It's kind of like a song. It went, you know, it was a kind of like a little song to it, you know. So I'll get that and let y'all have that too. I'll put it on the website. And so, okay, I've got, we'll see, we got Asiskika. What's Asiskika? Sun major, which means clock. Hamgat Othibiga. Boxing Chihijagathis. Boxy is tomorrow. Chihijagathis, I will see y'all tomorrow. Oh, I know, Mado, everybody, and I hope this is gonna help.
Boxing Chihijagathis, so on.
I wanna know.
Widow.
Mado. Mado.
Maro.
Aha.
Widow.
Mado.
Mado. Inga.